黒猫とパンケーキ作る。みゃう。パンケーキに黒猫乗せる。みゃう。黒猫のパンケーキ出来上がり。黒猫パンケーキ。みゃうみゃう。
No. I'm sorry. It's bad for my heart.
Greetings, fellow masters, and... Really? Really? You guys are saying that Abigail Williams is one of the worst 5-stars in the game? When servants like Arjuna Archer and Avenger Nobunaga are around? I was planning to do a MASH review for newer masters, but now I feel it is my civic duty to tell these people how wrong they are about Abigail Williams' performance being bad. Does she have issues? Yes. Does it destroy her from being used? Oh, absolutely not. Starting off, she has very high attack among all servants in the game, with a very respectable amount of HP too. So she's going to be hitting berserkers pretty hard, and her HP keeps her relatively tanky too, so she has fairly good stats all around. Her NP and star generation though is where most of the critics point towards her being a bad servant, as she does have horrible NP gain despite having multiple hits on her cards. The only way for her to gain NP on her own is arts chains. However, with the right team, this can be remedied rather easily. Her star generation is not that good as well, seeing as she only has one quick card. Her star absorption is what you would expect of a foreigner class. Her first skill is easily her best skill. A delayed NP gain buff of 10% for 3 turns, and 30% NP damage up to the entire party, which is amazing for 3-turn farming. I'll come back to that later. But with the newest buff, she also got a 30% NP charge for herself. So that gives Abigail an overall 60% NP charge to herself in 3 turns, which really helps out with her bad NP gain. This has a 7-turn cooldown, however, which can be a problem with a solution. This is definitely the first skill you will want to max out first, as it is the most valuable skill she has. Her second skill applies the Terror debuff to the entire party for 3 turns, which has a chance to stun them once in those 3 turns, alongside decreasing defense for all enemies by 20%. I would say this is her least valuable skill personally, as it's chance based. It's chance based in related to both debuffs. This is also on a 7-turn cooldown, and one you would most likely want to max out last. Unfortunately, servants do have high debuff resistance at times, so this entire skill can miss, unfortunately. But it definitely does have its uses when it lands. Her third skill is an NP drain by 1 bar and a 20% attack down for 3 turns. I would highly suggest leveling this skill second, as that NP drain can absolutely save your bacon in the right moment, delaying the enemy NP by 1 more turn. All of Abigail's skills have a 7-turn cooldown, which is definitely another issue she has, but it can be remedied with the right team. But all her skills being on the same cooldown turns does help them to synergize better at least. The third skill is definitely one to not spam though, and it is to be used primarily for emergencies. All in all, she has a good skill set, just a shame that the cooldown on them is for so long. When it comes to her passes, she has an automatic 175 damage plus to her attacks, Insanity B to increase her buster strength by 8%, an Existence Beyond the Domain to automatically generate 2 stars, and it increases her debuff resistance. Though this passive does have other uses for another certain servant I'll soon mention. However, Now we come into one of the primary reasons Abigail is so underrated and can be a challenge quest destroyer. Her single target Buster NP removes buffs before hitting and reduces the enemy's crit chance by 30% for one turn. There is absolutely zero way to avoid the full frontal assault of this MP. Invincibility, high defense, it doesn't matter. Abigail will tear right through it. And not only is it good for damage, it's good for stopping the enemy from overbuffing themselves and letting them steamroll over your team, provided it's not a permanent buff like in some challenge quests. This noble phantasm is ridiculously valuable for what it can do, and it's what makes Abigail so good for breaking challenge quests in half with the right team. So overall, we got a mismatched deck, poor MP gain, and brutal cooldowns, but for good skills and a ridiculously strong NP. But there are definitely ways to remedy this. I'll go over some of the best options, and some more free-to-play choices as well, since Abigail's best supports are not very common. If you made it this far, type Kuro Neko Pancake in the comments, and consider leaving a like, and maybe a sub to help me continue making these kinds of videos. For her ultimate team, at least in my opinion, we have Tamamo and Merlin giving her everything she would need. Tamamo buffing her arts and NP gain with reducing her cooldown, and Merlin improving the power of her NP and Buster cards, and again helping everyone with more NP, stars, and healing. Honestly, all of them synergize amazingly well, with the NP drain on Tamamo and Abigail being very clutch in boss fights. And I can't stress enough how much Tamamo's NP reducing skill cooldown really fixes a lot of Abigail's skills. If you get an NP chain going of Abigail, Merlin, and Tamamo, it's a steam train of NP chains that just won't stop in combination with all the ways their NPs help each other. It's incredibly powerful and very fun to do. You also are afforded a lot of safety in the heals and invincibility Merlin provides, as well as Tamamo and Abigail's NP drain and skill cooldown from Tamamo's NP. However, a similar team can also work, though a bit less effective, as it doesn't provide as much heals, but does offer more defense. Abigail, Waver, and Tamamo. Similar to before, this lets you focus more on locking the enemy's NP down with a constant NP drain from all three, as well as relying on Tamamo to keep skill cooldown low for all. For alternatives to these teams, you can fill one of these slots with either Hans for his third skill, aiding in NP generation and stars, as well as giving a multitude of buffs to the team, such as healing and attack. You can even fit in Caster Gilgamesh, as he greatly helps with the team's defense, arts, and star drop buffing. Tamamo really does help to fix a lot of Abigail's problems, if you put her in a team with arts-focused decks spread across. Castoria is also another powerful option in helping to fix Abigail's NP generation. Though a double Castoria or Castoria and Tamamo will result in her NP not hitting as hard, it will have no Buster buffs, only attack buffs. Though I do have to wonder how strong Proto and regular Merlin would be. Something to consider testing if I ever get Proto Merlin, I guess. Castoria and Merlin work as great partners, though it will be less reliant on Abigail's skills, and more reliant on Merlin's invincibility and NP, and Castoria's NP keeping the team alive. But it can work, just won't be as effective. One other team you can run for fun is a double Van Gogh team with a full set of crit star generating CEs, such as 2030s. Since her NP doubles up on Abigail because of her existence beyond the domain passive, the entire team with a double Van Gogh NP will be dealing 300% crit damage by default. So it pretty much turns into crit the enemy to death before they kill you. Very fun to run, though Abigail may end up being the first to die since she has no guts to protect her. But fun to mess around in. As you can see, Abigail has very expensive supports to make her truly shine, but when you get the right pieces, the team becomes an unstoppable NP spamming train of chaos. However, and I have never really heard any channel talk about this, Abigail has another purpose. An amazing swap out option for 3-turn farming, and it's all because of her first skill. That NP strength up is a bit of a rarity when it comes to support skills that last 3 turns. Not even the big 3 queens of the card type has a skill that buffs NP damage for 3 turns. And with how FGO works, skills are multiplicative and work more effectively when stacked together. But what makes this skill so incredibly valuable is that delayed 10% NP charge for 3 turns. This can help push some servants that just don't have enough NP gain up to just barely over the edge for both quick and arts servants that need that last little bit of extra charge at the end of their NP. And with all the buffs they are already getting from their queens of that card type, the damage they will produce with that is one of the highest damage ceilings that also aids in NP generation. This will allow you to get away with quick 3-turn farming somewhat comfortably while also greatly boosting your damage. It's the reason that I was able to farm with nothing but Zerkerlot, the magical girl of Sapphire CE, and double Scotty and Abigail. Abigail is one of the core reasons I was able to make this work for nearly everything, including event farming, as well as max level lotto farming. Now, if you have your own waiver or reigns, you can do this too, but the damage won't be nearly as high because neither of them have an NP damage up, and sometimes you need that overkill NP generation. You will have to experiment with this yourself to get a good feel of what you can get away with this, but do not underestimate Abigail's value to 3-turn farming setups where you just need a little more NP gain rate. If I did not have her, I would not have been able to 3-turn a vast majority of nodes with 5 event CEs on. She deserves all the pancakes for that. When it comes to CEs you want to give her, it depends on the kind of team you are making, but I found the most powerful CEs for her are ones that improve her NP gain. So CEs like Cute Orangette and Magical Girl of Sapphire will be her most powerful universal picks. One giving you more NP damage and the other giving you a faster charge. But both provide strong NP gain, which is what she desperately needs. If you are running her on a Merlin team, then I recommend a CE like Royal Icing to slightly help with NP gain and to increase your NP damage. But any CE that increases her NP gain and NP damage will do. If you run her on a Tamamo or Castoria team focused on increasing her NP gain, then I'd actually recommend Black Grail to increase the power of your NP damage. Or you can also use Royal Icing with that as well. Golden Sumo is also a good universal choice, but it won't be as good for focusing on fixing her NP gain issues. You can get away with running a bit of a crit setup on her if you give Merlin and whatever support servant star generating CEs like 20-30. So in that case, giving her NP gain and crit CE combination would actually do her very well. When it comes to command codes, I recommend Mage of Flowers on one of her arts card to help with the little extra 10% NP gain. Maiden of Orleans to also help her, giving her a bit of extra healing, and either Wedge of the Heavens or Mistress of the Heavens to give her Buster card that much more oomph depending on what kind of setup you are doing for your busters. Her Bond CE is not worth using as it only applies 30% MP damage and gives you death immunity 3 times. I'd only ever use this CE in extremely niche scenarios where instant death is an issue. Abigail Williams is definitely not perfect, and she has some flaws to her kit. But there are servants out there that you can borrow from a friend or use your own to help enhance her and reach her max potential. And when she does, she utterly breaks challenge quests. Abigail is not bad or mediocre in the slightest. She just needs the right aid to make it work. She has her automatic value as a foreigner as well, which lets her resist berserkers, which is powerful in of itself. I hope that this long explanation of why Abigail is far better than people give her credit for has helped open their eyes to just how much value she can bring to your team. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Honestly, poor Abigail gets such a bad reputation that I just had to make this so masters that do have her and want her can know she does bring value to your team. If you liked this video, maybe leave it a like and consider subbing so YouTube Senpai will push more of my videos. Show it to your friends that don't see Abigail's value. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic day. See you later!